happens over the next 7 years, and that's why Hospital 2.0 and the approach in the programme is so important in order to be able to get to that.
Just quickly, this is even worse than the MOD, and that truly is saying something. Anyway, Dame Meg.
Some of our buildings predate the NHS itself. Wards are shut down because the foundations are sinking, lifts are not working. Our patients and staff deserve better, and they're not until cohort 3.
Hello there, I do hope you're all well, and yes, that was our Sir Geoffrey Clifton-Brown making that startling statement, and that was our Brexit Spartan, Mark Francois, doing Spartan things, I suppose, in the Public Accounts Committee meeting on Thursday the 7th of September, and they were discussing the new hospitals programme. Remember the 40 new hospitals pledge? To save time, I will put in the description box the names of the witnesses and their job descriptions as well. But things got a little intense after Sir Geoffrey Clifton-Brown asked this question.
So given that the original programme, when it was announced in 2020, was to have 40 new hospitals built by 2030, it's now been scaled back to 32, but given the funding...
Well, I think perhaps it's right that the press saying the National Audit Office highlighted it's 32
yes,
as an attempt to suggest there were 40.
The National Audit Office's methodology. Given the funding constraints and even the building constraints, Ms Dunn, how, if you were sitting here today, how many hospitals of these in, I don't mind whether it's in cohorts 2, 3, 4 or 5, how many do you think will be built by 2030?
So the envelope that we are working with, where and the team is working to develop the full business case for, is the full business case that will cover all of the hospitals that were in the announcement in May. As you rightly say, Chair, the NEO made the point that the cohorts within that 40 that were announced in May start from a different place than the cohorts that were announced in the 40 previously. So I'm expecting that the full business case that we are developing will cover those that were announced in May. One of the things that we have been working on and will be working on intensively as we produce the full business case is the more detailed articulation of the costs of those individual schemes and how we get them within that envelope, and are working with the minimum viable product baseline assumptions. We think that is achievable, but we will confirm that as part of the full business case process.
So, that was quite a long answer. Just simplify it for me.
Maybe I'll have a little go at the bullshit baffling brains bit then for you, Sir Geoffrey. I get the feeling that she said, our team is creating a detailed plan that includes all the hospitals mentioned in the May announcement. The National Audit Office pointed out that the 40 hospitals mentioned in May have some differences from the ones announced before. We will make sure our plan covers the May announcement hospitals. We are also figuring out the specific costs of each project and how to fit them within our budget. We're starting with basic assumptions for now, which we believe are doable, but we will confirm everything in the complete plan. What do you guys think? That could be so wide of the mark, who knows?
Because I'm a simple person. How many hospitals will be built by 2030?
The 40 hospitals that do not exist at the moment that fall within the definition of a new hospital will be built under the programme by 2030 under current plans. Now, as I say, that is to be determined as part of the full business case. That is the intention. That's what we are working towards. That's what the full business case will develop. But that was what was announced, and that was the intention. That is what we are working towards.
That's quite a bold announcement.
Not only a bold statement, but also a lot of waffle. But what I can understand what she meant is, we plan to build 40 new hospitals by 2030. But we haven't figured out all the details yet. We're still working on the exact plan, but it will be part of a more comprehensive business case. That is our goal, and it's what we announced. So much for Spafford Johnson's 40 new hospitals, Then Sir Geoffrey said, the National Audit Office says the cost is 31 billion, but when we add up the numbers, it's 37 billion. It seems like there's not enough money for all the hospitals. What are you talking about with the Treasury, and how much money do you think is needed to build all the hospitals? where Shona Dunn, Permanent Secretary Department of Health and Social Care, basically replied by saying, "We've been talking with the Treasury for a while about this. The funding amount announced in May is what we believe we can manage for now." After Sir Geoffrey asked about the 18-point-something billion, where Shona Dunn replied, "We've used a budget of over £20 billion for the project and we're creating a detailed plan for it. We believe it's achievable, but we'll make sure it works when we complete the full plan." Some more word salad then, by the sounds of it. Then Sir Geoffrey Clifton-Brown came out with this statement, and then it seems to get quite juicy.
I put it to you, even those figures in those tables, I don't think contain an element for inflation. They don't contain any Treasury contingency, P50 or 70 or whatever it is. They don't contain realistically whether these savings are going to be produced by 2.0 or not. They don't contain the inflation in the market, because only relatively few contractors are going to be able to build these hospitals. I get increasingly worried about the shortfall in funding, and I wonder if you've really been having realistic discussions with the Treasury as to what these 40 hospitals are going to cost.
What I was going to say, Sir Geoffrey, is we're feeling the eyes of Mr. Kelly boring into me from the left. We do think about these things very carefully, and certainly the conversations we have had with Treasury have absolutely included all of the things that you mentioned there. We operate as the major programme on sort of best practice principles. We would not have conversations with Treasury which don't take account of, optimism bias, inflation, etc. So those things are built into our discussions.
If you look at just to illustrate the point, figures 8 and 9 on pages 31 and 33, only 2 hospitals have seen, only one hospital has seen a reduction in the budget allocated in 2020, and some have gone up a staggering, the Women and Children's Hospital in Cornwall, 103 percentage point increase, Derriford Emergency Care Centre in Plymouth, 137% increase. I mean, this is staggering sums of money. I mean, they don't get cheaper.
Here comes our Brexit Spartan with his apples and oranges.
Mr. Francois.
Sorry, so just to be clear, you've said today that 40 new hospitals, because part of the challenge of this is definition. You've said, Ms Dunn, that we'll have 40 new hospitals by 2030. According to the NAO report, if you look at page 4, key facts, of those that fall within the definition, so far you've built 1. The Dyson Cancer Centre in Bath. This is page 4 of the report. So in 3 years, you've built 1, and you're now telling us you're going to build all the other 39 within 7 years, because on your progress to date, you're not going to get anywhere near it, are you?
So, Mr. Francois, as I say, the announcement, the 40 that were announced in May, you're quite right, the 40 that were announced previously will not all be built by 2030. There are 40 hospitals that were announced in May that where the programme is developing the full business case to deliver those hospitals by 2030. Forgive me. So that is, I'm not saying that the 40 hospitals that had previously been announced will be built by 2030. I'm saying the hospitals that were announced in May, that is what we are developing the full business case for, with the intention of delivering those by 2030.
Forgive me, but as an MP with 22 years standing, there's sophistry here. It seems to me you're deliberately trying to mix up apples and oranges, because you know you can't meet the original commitment. Second one of those hospitals, I'm looking at the NAO's report. So, forecast operational date for the first new hospital that counts towards the 40 new hospitals commitment, late 2023. Forecast operational date of the second new hospital that counts towards the 40 new hospitals commitment, Shotley Bridge Hospital, County Durham, operational late 2025. So that will be 2 hospitals in 5 years, and you're still saying 40 in 10. Just defies logic, doesn't it?
I entirely accept that the NAO is reviewing the position against the 40 hospitals in the original announcement. Ms. Forrest can talk in more detail about where we are against the hospitals that we referred to in the May announcement, and it is those 40 hospitals.
I mean, I'll hand back to the chair, but in simple terms, you're playing a game of smoke and mirrors this morning. You've got one list of 40. Oh no, it's a different list of 40. Everybody can see you're way off track. It's far too slow. It's far too bureaucratic. It's classic DHSC, in other words. You're not going to get anywhere near it, are you?
Well, as I say, we are working, as I think you'd expect us to the government's announcement in May and the hospitals that were included in that announcement. That's the list of hospitals that we are planning for and preparing to.
Yes, but you have to deliver it. And my point is, on the current rate of progress, you're not even going to get close.
It is worth, certainly, Chair, Ms. Francois, as I said at the outset, this is a very big and complex major government programme that is not just building 40 buildings. It is attempting to shift the way in which we build hospital infrastructure, and I completely accept, therefore, Ms. Francois, there is a period of time at the outset of that major programme where we are developing Hospital 2.0, we are changing the approach to the delivery of that infrastructure, and you are quite right, we do rely on that change of approach being successful in order to be able to build to these timeframes. So what I'm saying is the recent past needs to not be an indicator of what happens over the next 7 years, and that's why Hospital 2.0 and the approach in the programme is so important in order to be able to get to that.
Just quickly, this is even worse than the MOD, and that truly is saying something. Anyway, Dame Meg.
Clearly our weekend warrior was trained not to lose her. But for me, I don't know why, I got the feeling there was a hint of panic and desperation in our weekend warrior's voice. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Then Sir Geoffrey Clifton-Brown asked for written details about what hospitals in the cohorts at what price are going to be built by what date, where Shona Dunn basically handed it over to Natalie Forrest, senior responsible owner of the New Hospitals Programme, Department of Health and Social Care, bit of a mouthful, who basically said, "We have 2 hospitals that are now complete and commissioning, expecting to take patients in a very short space of time. The Trauma Centre in Manchester and the first phase of the Cedar development in the north." But then Sir Geoffrey spotted a tiny flaw in the plan, and then our weekend warrior, our Brexit Spartan, still thinks he's standing in a fruit and veg stall. But then Sir Geoffrey's point at the end really highlights the seriousness of this situation.
With respect, those are very small projects.
And they weren't they're not in the 40 programme, are they?
No.
I mean, some of the other ones we're talking about in cohorts 3 and 4 are really big projects. Will take much longer, will they not?
Yeah. Are they apples or oranges?
Well, that's not. Sorry, continue, Ms. Forrest.
I was just going to say that, of course, and I completely appreciate that physical construction of a hospital is what looks like progress. But in fact, all of these schemes that we've been talking about are developing their business case. And as we alluded to earlier, Chair, that takes years of development. And so there is progress going on.
Okay, some of it just feels like, I used to represent Whipps Cross University Hospital. It's part of a trust that covers some of my constituency, though it's not in my constituency, and they have been trying to be redeveloped since I was first representing them in 2000. We're in 2023. So these are not all sort of brand new projects. They've been knocking around for a while. But look, we'll bring it to Geoffrey just to finish off on some points on Hospital 2.0 before we move on.
Can I just perhaps both of you just illustrate the points? There's a hospital in cohort 3 which was all part of the original HIP in 2019. Epsom and St Helier, who say on their website, and I quote, "Some of our buildings predate the NHS itself. Wards are shut down because the foundations are sinking. Lifts are not working. Our patients and staff deserve better." And they're not until cohort 3. So, it does seem that we've got some really serious cases out there that can really not expect to have anything done for a number of years.
Very damning indictment of the 13 years of Tory rule and gruel there. Sorry for cutting bits out, but it would have gone on for a whole lot longer if I didn't. But if you want to watch the whole 2 hours, I will leave a link in the description box below, and I will try and download the meeting when I get a chance. And if you enjoyed the video, just give it a like. And if you're new to my channel and you enjoy select committee meetings and all things in the House of Commons, subscribe. It's all I do. So I shall leave the video here. Until the next time, I shall bid you farewell and take care, my friends.